Welcome to Certain Point of View's Trade School, where each episode a different host talks about a comic book trade paperback that they loved and why they love it.
Hello, I am Keith Lehtinen, host of Certain POV comic book review show We Have Issues. I am incredibly excited by the chance to talk about comics outside of my normal purview, which is the brand new releases. Trade School is an amazing opportunity, and I decided to start us off with something a little special. If you are a longtime reader of Marvel or DC comics, you start to notice a few patterns over time. New heroes with old names, crisis buttons, alternate realities, and many more tropes dot the history of the big two. However, there's one that's always fascinated me more than the others. Every once in a while, there's a concerted effort to introduce a new generation of heroes. Some of these do better than others, of course. Regardless, the new heroes join an increasingly bloated roster of characters that clutter fan wikis with their tantalizingly tiny biographies. However, in the 2000s, Marvel made a renewed effort to launch several new superhumans across the imprint, and in doing so, left a lasting impact on the brand as a whole. Much more so than any effort beforehand, these characters caught our hearts and have stuck around. I can think of no better way to start Trade School than looking back to that time and celebrating the beginning of the new Marvel Universe. I feel compelled to start with the one that started it all. Without this book and series, the others might have never made it to print, to be honest. And though it likely has had the least impact of the three, it was the first to catch my attention. I am, of course, talking about 2003 Runaways Volume 1, Pride and Joy. Written by Brian K. Vaughan, penciled by Adrian Alfona, inked by David Newbold, colored by Brian Reber, and lettered by Paul Tutron. At this time in my comic fandom, I'd entered into a bit of a lull. I still paid attention to the big things, but my week-to-week reading had kind of dropped off. I was burnt out, even on X-Men, but there was a recent comic that I made sure to read every single issue of, and that is Vertigo's Y: The Last Man. Like the rest of the world, I was hooked. It was tragic and funny and well-written and excellently illustrated. It was the perfect comic. Just ask Wizard Magazine. And for those of you out there who don't know what Wizard Magazine is, just know that it was a big deal to us in a love-hate kind of way. So when I found out that the writer of Y: The Last Man was making a Marvel book with all new characters, sign me up. I could not wait to read it. I got my hands on issue 1 and read it 3 times in one sitting. It was more than I even anticipated. Aaron Sorkin-style dialogue, instantly iconic characters, and an impeccable look into family dynamics that is missing from most comics. I needed the next issue immediately. For the uninitiated, Runaways is the tale of 6 teenagers in California growing up in varying levels of comfort and wealth. As a young surfer idiot from San Diego, I was instantly transported to my past. I saw myself in Chase, the mechanical genius who acts dumb out of spite. I saw myself in Carolina, the good daughter who hid the strain of her perfection and true desires from her parents. I saw myself in newly goth Nico, know-it-all Gert, and perpetually ignored Molly. But most of all, I saw myself in Alex. Some of you know where that leads, but as this episode is about Volume 1, we'll save that tale for another day. Alex was smart, too smart for his own good. How many of us former gifted kids can relate to that? He loved his parents and they loved him, but did that make their relationship perfect? Absolutely not. And much like myself, a portion of his life was buried in an online RPG. And as a side note, if Marvel ever actually made that game he was playing, I will personally buy 5 copies and give them away. All 6 of them are brought together by their parents for a house party, just like every year. And just like every year, they try to tolerate each other's presence. Now, this is where we get spoilery, so I'm going to stop short of explaining exactly how it happens, but they soon learn their parents aren't who they thought they were, and the idea of legacy and generational responsibility becomes core to the tale. And Vaughan does an amazing job of tying these various characters to different aspects of the Marvel lore, solidifying them as part of this living world. I could talk more, but it would honestly spoil further volumes, and I don't really want to do that. I did start this talking about the legacy of these characters, and as I alluded to earlier, Runaways has arguably been the book with the least staying power. However, there's still plenty to talk about. The team began getting tie-in minis with most crossovers, including Civil War, Secret Invasion, and even as recent as the current One World Under Doom story. Nico became a frequent character in a variety of stories, including Strange Academy, A-Force, and the critically underrated Mystic Arcana. She was joined by Chase in Avengers Arena, a grim Hunger Games-style tale of survival. Molly joined the cast of Young Girls begrudgingly taken under Wolverine's tutelage, and Gert was teased as possibly being destined for something more. And of course, there was the TV show. Made for Hulu, Runaways, the show held on to the heart of the story and made some changes. Some for the better and some for the not so much better. I loved it regardless and highly recommend checking it out if you can. So, with the success of Runaways, what would Marvel do next? Well, that's a matter for another episode, so I'll see you next time, and happy reading. All right, Josue, let's go through our new Comic Day stack. We have a lot to review.
I know. Maybe we've gone too far.
Well, let's see. Marvel, of course. DC.
I got Image, Dark Horse,
Black Mask, Boom, IDW.
Aftershock, Vault, of course, Mad Cave,
Oni, Valiant, Scout.
Magma, Behemoth.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, all we need now is a name for our show. We need a name for our show about reviewing comic books every week. Something clever, but not too clever.
Like a pun? It's kind of cheesy.
Yeah, it's something that seems funny at first, but we might regret later on as an impulsive decision a few dozen episodes in.
Yeah, we'll think of something.
Join Keith and Josue for We Have Issues, a weekly show reviewing almost every new comic released each week. Available on Geek Elite Media and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.